Hey, it's Michael here, and in this video, I'm going to show you how you can use Launchpad to automate a kind of tedious task inside of Revit. So I'm here in Revit 2025. I am going to go to the add-ins ribbon here, and I'm going to launch Launchpad. Now, one of the things about Launchpad is that I can go through kind of the training that's included, but I can also use it to write my own tools. So I'm going to go ahead and close the lesson pane here by clicking this toggle. And now I just have the code editor and the output window. On the right-hand side here, I have the code library. So I'm going to open up that. And the code library contains a bunch of pre-written code that I can use inside of my own scripts. And that's what we're going to do right now. So I'm going to get everything set. I'm going to go and clear the code editor. And let's say I have an Excel file and I want to use the data in the Excel file to create levels in Revit. So I'm going to open up my Excel file. Here it is. You can see it's pretty straightforward. I have a column that has my level names, and then I have another column that has elevation. Now, I've saved this Excel file to a CSV file. So it's a comma delimited file, which is very easy to open up and work with C# and Launchpad. I'm going to switch back into Revit, and we're going to go ahead and write some code. Now, inside the code library, I have some code here in file operations that's read data from CSV. So if I click that open, I can see the code, and let me open this up a little bit more. A little bit of positioning here. There we go. So I can see the code that's been written. So I'm going to go ahead and click copy code, and I'm going to go to the code editor and just paste it into the code editor. So looking at this, what it does is it creates a string for the file path. So I have a path directly to my CSV file, and obviously you could edit this for your file path. I'm going to create a list of string arrays here that's going to hold the data from that CSV file. And next here on line 8, I'm going to use what's called a stream reader. And this allows me to read text files. So it reads it into memory. And then I'm going to loop through that data, through the actual text file, and I'm going to put the values into this string array. So this line here, line 15, we're actually going to split. There we go. We're going to split each line by the comma. So that's going to separate the data into an array, and that will allow me to access each column of that CSV file individually, as opposed to reading it as one big long string. So at the end of this, once we finish this code here on line 20, I'm going to end up with a list of string arrays, and I can loop through that in order to read the data. So this code was all written, and it's available here inside of the code library. So let's add a little bit more to this. The next thing we want to do will come out of that with our list. If you'll notice, let me open up our Excel file here. There's a header row here in the Excel file, and we obviously don't want to create a level called level name. We're going to get an error here when we try to create a level that has an elevation set to a string. So what we need to do is remove that header row. So I'm going to put a comment here, and I'm going to take, if we look up, our list here was called data list. So I'm just going to type data list dot remove at, and then we're going to remove at index 0 because it is a list and the first item in the list is index 0. So that's going to remove that header row. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to loop through data list and create my levels. So we're going to use a for loop for this. So I'm going to type for, and this is a 3-part loop. So I need to create my variable. I'm going to create an integer I, and I'm going to set it equal to 0. Then I'm going to say I less than, and less than or equal, less than, we're going to go less than data list dot count. And then lastly, we're going to increment I each time we go through the loop. So that is my for loop. I'm going to have a curly bracket, and I'm going to end it with a curly bracket. So we're going to loop through the data in our CSV file, and we're going to use that to create each of the levels. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get the current row as array. So we're going to create a string array right here. We'll call it level data, and I'm going to set it equal to our data list, and then we're going to index it. So this, as we're going through, we're going to use our I variable as our index. So I'm going to get each item in my data list. Now, I could also do this using a for each loop. That would work as well. So I could iterate through each item in the list using a for each. So both of these methods would work fine. So now we have that level data. We're going to get level data. So I'm going to create a string called level name, and I'm going to set that equal to level data 0. And that's going to again, my current level data is right here. And I'm going to reference index 0, that first item in that array. So that's going to give me my level name. And that all goes back to our Excel file. This is going to be index 0 in the array, and this is going to be index 1. So that gets me my level data, or for the level name. Next, I'm going to create I need a number for the elevation. So I'm going to define that as a double, and we'll call this level elevation. Actually, we'll just call elevation. And I'm going to set that equal to, I'm going to use a method called double.parse. What this does is it will take a string as an input. So I'm going to put level data 1, that's my input. And what this method, this double.parse method, is going to do is it's going to transform that string input here, level data, as a number. So it's going to convert the string representation of the number as an actual number. Now, if I don't do this and I try to create my level, I'm going to get an error because it's going to say, hey, I need a number and you're giving me a string. So the data type really matters, and I want to make sure I'm using that right data type to match up with what I'm trying to create. And once we've done all that, now I can go ahead and I can create level. So I'm going to create a level variable. I'm going to call it new level, and I'm going to set it equal to level.create, and we're going to pass in our doc variable. That's our current document. And then I'm just going to enter in my elevation variable. Now, again, if I hadn't converted this number that I'm getting out of the Excel file, out of my CSV file, to a double, and I just passed this in as a string, Launchpad's not going to like it. It needs that actual number. So that's pretty much it for creating the level. Once I've done that, I can go ahead and I can just rename the level. So I'm going to take my new level dot name, and I'm going to set that equal to my level name variable. And that's the end of the loop. So each time we go through, let's take a little look at this. Each time we go through our loop, we are getting the current row from the CSV file as an array. We are then splitting that out to our level name and our elevation variables. We're creating the level, and then we're renaming the level. And that's all that I need to do. Now I can, if I want, I'm going to put a task dialog here at the end. And show, I'm going to call this complete, C-O-M-P-L-E-T-E, there we go. And I'm going to say, we'll do a $sign because we're going to use string interpolation. I'm going to say created, and we'll do a curly bracket. We'll put data list dot count inside of our curly bracket levels, period, boom. Okay, so that's just going to output, I really have some spelling issues there. There we go. That's going to output, created however many number of levels right there. So we're going to use that variable that's going to be based on our list. All right, so I'm going to do a split screen so we can see this happen in real time. So let's get that set up. There we go. And we're going to have, okay, so we have Launchpad on the right. We have Revit on the left. I'm going to go into an elevation, and let's zoom this over a little bit. And I'm just going to go ahead and click, let's close our code library, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and click Run in Launchpad. you'll see it takes a minute just to kind of read through, do the interpolation. And it says, okay, one or more errors occurred. The process cannot access the file because it's being used. So I have that CSV file open. I'm going to go ahead and close it here. Okay, I did that. Now let's give it a run. And you can see it says created 50 levels. So if we take a look at that, here are my levels. Level 0, that's at 15 feet. And then everything else above that is at 10-foot intervals. So we were able to read all that CSV data in our code here. We were able to generate those levels based on that data. So I'm going to go ahead and let me undo that. And if I went in and edited or I added some levels or I took some levels out or changed the floor to floor, I could just run this again. So in fact, I'm going to go and hit save. So I can save this out. Let's say create levels. There we go. I can save that out and now I can reuse that script anytime I want. I can just load it right in and then I can change the name of that CSV file here if I need to. Use a different one, or when it gets updated, run it again over and over and over again. So I hope this helps demonstrate to you how you can use Launchpad to create your own scripts. You're not just limited, you're not just limited to this, the code that's here in lessons. You can actually branch off of that and build your own scripts however you want. All right. Thanks everyone, and talk to you soon.